let's kick off the show. We're going to talk first about one of those leaks that I just mentioned, and it is a really, really bad one. This week, The Last of Us Part 2 was basically leaked in its entirety. The entire plot synopsis was leaked. A new video was leaked that showed pivotal cinematic moments in the game, and I mean pivotal, and a bunch of other details about it. Now, we curated a story on SIFTD about the actual leak, but we were very careful with the story that we curated to make sure that it did not actually include any of the information. But if you want to find that stuff, it's very, very easy to find. Initial reports are that the information was leaked by a former disgruntled Naughty Dog employee. To the best of my knowledge, that has not been 100% confirmed yet, but that is kind of the word.
There's a contractor, as I understand it.
A private contractor, like an independent contractor?
Yeah.
And the story was that the contractor was unhappy that Naughty Dog was not paying him properly for the hours that he worked. Again, this is not 100% confirmed that it was from a contractor or a Naughty Dog employee. That's just what the word on the street is. Matt?
It would also make a lot of sense considering the quality of the leak.
Well, yeah, the quality of the leak for sure. And we'll get to some of the other elements that may have led up to this. But first, Matt, what was your initial reaction when you saw this?
Well, my initial reaction was to text a bunch of people and say, look out. There's stuff out there. Don't look.
Besides that.
I mean, it sucks. I understand being upset about, unfair employment practices, but throwing the entire, hundreds of devs under the bus who worked on this game and ruining that for everybody is probably not the best way to go about it.
Yeah. And so what Matt is hinting at is that Jason Schreier, who's now at Bloomberg, he did work at Kotaku before that, had published quite a while ago. He published a scathing article on Naughty Dog saying that their work culture was awful and that their crunch was terrible and their employee retention was really bad. And then he followed up and found that Naughty Dog had not made many changes to its work culture. If you remember, we talked about it a few weeks ago, how people were at the office late and something fell from the ceiling and almost killed them. Impactor Factor this week, perfect timing. The episode about Naughty Dog just went up a couple days ago, and then this news hits. So I think it's tough for me. You're right. It's really low what this person did because it's kind of like the people who are protesting and refusing to wear masks. They're like, you know what? I don't want to wear a mask, so screw everybody else. And they don't really care about how it's affecting other people. The same deal with Naughty Dog. Look, the guy...
And similar to those people who are catching the virus, I guess you don't have to worry about being paid poorly because no one's going to hire you now.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's kind of the same deal here with Naughty Dog in that you had a person that felt that they were unhappy with how they were being treated. And instead of dealing with it in a man-to-man, person-to-person way, they decided to bring the whole ship down with them. And to me, that's disgraceful. Not everyone who works at Naughty Dog hates this contractor or was putting the screws to this contractor. Most of the people
most of them agree with him.
I'm sure they do. Yep. And most of those people are just like him. They worked their butts off on this game. They're dealing with the same work culture as everybody else there. They're not leaking stuff out to the internet. So I think we can agree that this was the wrong way to handle something like this.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not trying to defend Naughty Dog because the reports that have come out about that studio have been far from flattering. And based on the fact if they're true or not, and if they are true, I'm really disappointed in Naughty Dog. And I was really disappointed to hear in the follow-up that it had not made a lot of changes to its culture. But I got to draw the line somewhere. And when you're affecting hundreds of people, and in this case, probably more than 100, there may be almost 1,000 people who have touched this game at some point.
Why don't you expand out to the Sony support system? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And all the QA people and everything that goes into making a video game to screw all those people. Because you got to remember, this isn't just a personal vendetta thing. This affects the game financially, or could affect the game financially. So it could affect people's bonuses that in a lot of cases at these studios, they give you a whatever salary and then they dangle the bonuses as the carrot to get you to sign on. So a lot of these developers, they need these bonuses to make it worth their while. And a guy like this to just come in and screw over the rank and file the way he did, it's deplorable. It's disgusting. So I feel for the people at Naughty Dog in some ways because, yeah, somebody really screwed them. But at the same time, they have to like take stock of their business at this point and be like, what? Yeah. What made this person so angry that they would do something like this? And look, it may be this person may have personality issues or whatever, but it took a spark to light that fire. And in my opinion, based upon what's been reported and not been refuted, I would add, Naughty Dog is culpable in this at least a little bit. Thus, the lower third that we're using for this topic.
What is the lower third? Because I can't see it.
It says karma with a question mark. So to me, Naughty Dog isn't completely innocent in this. And to be fair, I haven't really seen Naughty Dog out on Twitter saying anything kind of derogatory about it. They're probably trying to sweep it under the rug. But
I mean, there's Neil said some stuff about it's a shame and I'm sorry and I can't believe somebody did that and kind of it sucks that it's ruined. And like Naughty Dog, I think the official maybe Last of Us 2 account put up something that's just like, hey, just try to be respectful and don't spoil it for people if they don't want to be, that kind of thing.
But they didn't go after the leaker, is what I'm saying. And say this
not publicly, no.
Jackass. Oh yeah, not publicly. And privately, the lawyers are going to go after this person if they can figure out who it is. But
I mean, I'm sure like there's only a certain number of people who had access to that video.
They'll probably be able to figure it out.
Yeah, they'll be able to figure it out.
Yep, and he's going to be in deep crap, or she, when that day comes. But here's the thing: he didn't just screw all the employees at Naughty Dog; he also screwed us. I don't know if you ended up accidentally seeing some of the stuff. I did, because
I haven't seen any of it.
So I did. So it's, as part of my job of curating, I need to follow up and fact check stuff and make sure that we're not curating things to SIFTD that are incorrect or just complete hoaxes or whatever. So I had to do some due diligence on this. And unfortunately, I went to a place that had captured still images from the videos that were released, and they were the most revealing still images that they could have put up. Mm-hmm. So instantly, in literally a half a second, my eyes saw things that they cannot unsee. And so I wouldn't say the game is ruined for me. I would say at least 3 gigantic plot points are ruined for me. But we tried to protect you guys. We made sure we did not curate any of that stuff to the site. So if you guys saw any of it, that's all on you. I had to do it as part of my job, and I wish that I didn't do it, and I didn't have to do it, but I did.
I mean, again, I'm not a spoiler phobe. I don't really care one way or the other. I don't seek it out. I might go look at it if the controversy gets more and more, because all the right people seem to hate this thing now that they see what happened in the story. So now I'm kind of curious.
You mean people hate the game now that they know what's going to happen?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
There's the usual suspects are very upset about it being too woke or whatever. So it sounds like they probably did it right. We'll see how it turns out, because that's the thing is like I'm hoping a well-told story. It doesn't matter if you know what the plot is.
Yeah, I mean I can watch movies over and over. Like I know what's going to happen.
I think the first Last of Us is kind of a mediocre game with a sort of by the numbers story that rides on a really, really strong character relationship.
Yeah. It's not going to keep me from enjoying the game.
No,
sure.
And the relationship between the characters is sort of the moment to moment unfolding of that is sort of the hook for most modern Naughty Dog. So it certainly was for everything Neil Druckmann has directed, I would say, including Uncharted 4, which is why Uncharted 4 doesn't work for me, because I don't care about the relationship between Nate and Sam.
Right.
So like as long as you're invested in that core duo in one of his games, you're going to get something out of it. I don't know how this is going to roll, but like as unimpressed as I can be by some of Druckmann's like macro decisions, I am usually very hooked by his moment to moment choices in terms of narrative. So
agreed.
And this kind of a leak doesn't really impact that too much. So like there's still the curiosity, even if I knew the plot points, there's still a curiosity of, how do you get to that? How does it unfold, moment to moment? How does it impact things going forward in the story? Like there's still, no one's gone to see a Shakespeare play in the last 500 years without knowing how it ends. So it's the journey there's something to be said for the journey. And if something doesn't entertain you because it doesn't surprise you, I still find that to be a poorly told story to begin with. So, and maybe this is that. I don't know. I haven't seen the leaks, but and hopefully I'll be able to avoid them for another month, I guess. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if my curiosity gets the best of me. At least it certainly wasn't delayed very long. Like,
yeah, so that's the other part of this. It was the new release date was just announced. It's June 19th.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that they moved that up because of the leak?
It seems that way. I mean, it went from delayed
oddly ready to go.
Yeah, it went from delayed indefinitely to coming out
6
real
weeks.
soon.
Yeah.
So
I mean, really, what was the original release date? Like the 29th? It was May 29th. It was the Xenoblade. So really, it was only like 3 weeks.
Yeah, even though when they announced it, it was indefinite, and everybody was like, "We may not see this until the end of the year or later." So it appears as if something related to this may have convinced them that they could bump it up, or maybe they just wanted to. And to your point about Neil and Naughty Dog's games of being about characters and character development and character arcs, that's the problem. So the images that I saw were related to all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're right. Like, that is why I really enjoy a lot of Naughty Dog games. And unfortunately, what I saw that day were things that had sacrificed some of that for me whenever I play the game. And I'm going to play it, obviously, and I'm probably still going to love it. And I'm going to try the whole time to forget the stuff that I've seen. But it will ultimately have an impact on how I ingest that game and ultimately kind of what my opinion is of it.
It's definitely going to color the narrative of the game in terms of
as I play it, because I know some stuff that's coming, big stuff that's coming. So it will, maybe it'll make it enjoyable in a different way, though.
I mean, there is something to be said for a second viewing or a second playthrough, something where you know what's happening, so you can kind of see how they set that up and what, you know, the foreshadowing and sometimes, you know, when there's a surprise in a narrative, sometimes you don't get like the point or the early themes of it until you say, oh, that's coming, so that's why this is happening early in the story, to kind of set that up and catch you off guard with it, but it still makes sense. Like, that's a cool way to kind of see how stories are constructed, but I don't think that works tremendously well when you just have been told what happens. Because again, part of constructing a narrative theme in your head while watching or consuming something is on the second viewing is understanding what happened and how it happened. So if you just know this thing happens, but you don't have any real context for it beyond like a screenshot and a description, you aren't necessarily going to know that some of these early, more subtle things are setting that up. So it really does sort of put a damper on it. I would say it hurts it more than anything else.
I would agree.
And I'm not a spoiler-phobe person. I don't think spoilers are a huge deal. If someone accidentally tells me what happens in this game, I mean, at least I don't have to worry about being at a party and anything like that. You know, I'm not going to be going to E3 and having people talk about it there the week before it comes out. So, so that would be more of a problem if everything was normal. But I'm not going to get mad at somebody if they accidentally do that. I mean, you should know better than to talk about the plot points of a game that's not out yet, but, you know, people are dumb. So,
do you think it will affect the financial performance of the game at all? You said a lot of fans are bummed or disappointed. Do you think it'll keep any of them from buying the game?
I don't think a lot of fans are bummed or disappointed. I think it's a very specific segment of a few thousand people.
Okay.
I think most of the other people I know who aren't part of that, like, just think that, I hate that I learned that. I'd rather have seen it live.
Like me,
more
basically.
or less. Yeah. And no, I don't think that's going to make people pass on it in any great numbers, at least not to the point that you'd notice a dent in the 10 to 15 million copies this thing's going to sell regardless.
Yep. Hey, Mitch, what's your perspective on stuff like this, leaks for big games?
I will admit I was tempted to look at it. Like, there was
I think everybody was.
Like, when I was on the site, I scrolled down and I was definitely being like, do I want to like look for a little further? And I was having the thought in my brain of weighing the risk and the reward of saying, do I want to know what already happens and kind of view it in that viewpoint as I play this game? I ended up not doing it, and I think this is, you know, the first thing I thought, your lower third is perfect. Karma was the first thing that popped right in my brain as soon as I saw this story break, because it's ridiculous to see studios treat employees this way. And, you know, though I agree with you all in the aspect of this is not good for the other people that worked really hard on this, but at the same time, I'm like, karma's a bitch. Like, it's like, I'm like, maybe this is the wake-up call they needed to say, hey, you know, fix your workforce. And I guess the final thing I would say about it in general is, it's interesting to see what sacrifices people have to do to be declared great. Because Naughty Dog is one of those studios that's declared as a great studio. Rockstar is a studio that's declared as amazing, and they had to change their work culture. So
and they did.
It's a really interesting viewpoint in that aspect.
Yeah, Rockstar did change its culture, whereas Naughty Dog hasn't.
Insomniac is considered great and was never like that.
Yep.
So
yeah, you don't have to be a jerk to be great, I guess, is the point. But a lot of great people or successful people are. I hate to say it, but I mean, I think most people can relate to that because they just think about their boss.
Yeah, it helps. I think it helps to not care who you're stepping on the way up.
It does. It makes it a lot easier to climb. I've never been that way. I'll never be that way. I'm the if I don't win the right way, I don't win guy. So, and it's probably to my detriment and to SIFTD's detriment, but I'm not going to sacrifice my morals for success. Some people are willing to do that. I'm not one of them. So it's disappointing on a lot of levels. I do hope, like Mitch said, that this is the breaking point for Naughty Dog. And it does finally say, you know what? Maybe we should take this seriously. Now that the game seems to be done, maybe Naughty Dog gets a little bit of a breather before it starts like diving in full force on its next project. Maybe it has a little bit of time to start thinking about its work culture and the detriment that its work culture has to what ultimately now its products.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest problem for me that this causes is I don't get to play Ghost of Tsushima for another 3 weeks.
Yep. So that's the other little tidbit of this. Ghost of Tsushima's release date was also announced for July 17th, 2020. So we get to play The Last of Us Part 2, and then 4 weeks later, there comes Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, it's a solid summer, but it's just like, it's so weird. The leak happens, you instantly, if you were really planning to just delay this thing 3 weeks, why were all the pre-orders canceled? Why was it pulled off PS?
They definitely
Clearly this was going to be longer.
Yep, definitely. Something has happened. I can't say for sure if it's this leak that happened that caused it, but something happened behind the scenes to make Naughty Dog and Sony change its minds about when the game was going to release. That's just the bottom line. Maybe someday we'll figure out what it is. It probably is something to do with the leak because they're like, well, crap, it's all out there now. Like, what? We're holding this back and people are just going to get access to those leaks more and more as time goes on. Maybe they're just looking at it like, we've got the one bad apple in the barrel right now, and we don't want to leave it in there too long because then it will start rotting all the other apples in the barrel. Maybe it just said, look, this is the quickest we can get it manufactured and get all the last bugs squashed and get it to stores, and we're just going to go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that once they decided to delay because of the virus lockdown, I feel like they were just like, oh, we'll just launch it when the multiplayer is done.
That could be
as a more complete package.
Maybe.
And now this kind of forced their hand to move it up.
Yep. So, yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it's going to affect Naughty Dog's bottom line ultimately. I think even the people who are complaining about it being woke or whatever, I think either they were never going to buy it or they're still going to buy it. So,
yeah, I mean, if the idea that you're surprised by that aspect after the E3 trailer is you look kind of stupid.
Dude,
at that point.
There's lesbians kissing on screen and their big reveal, and you're surprised that the game's woke?
Like it's not a new thing from Naughty Dog, and I encourage it. So bite me.
Yep, exactly. Okay. It's good for me. All right, let's move.
Don't buy it.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's move.
Rest of the 15 million people will enjoy it, I'm sure.
Exactly, and myself included, despite the fact that I now know like all the pivotal moments from the game, which sucks.